Hey y'all, welcome back to Andy's Little Homestead. Yesterday was Groundhog Day, the day that we as Americans look to a magical land beaver to tell us whether or not winter's going to keep coming. But the thing is, winter sticks around northern Michigan until like May. So to honor old Punxsutawney Philippe, we're going to go ahead and make something that comes from a place where winter doesn't exist, South Louisiana. Let's make some gumbo. First got into making Cajun food when I was 18. I just moved out of my parents' house. I liked to eat but didn't have any money. At $10 an hour, I was able to stretch my food budget and eat good on about $35 a week. There's a couple reasons for that. Cajun food, you can pretty much use whatever you got. It's all pretty cheap cuts of meat, and it's very flavorful. So much so that everything is cut in half with rice, which stretches a long way. So let's get started. First thing that we have to do is we're going to make a dark roux. A roux is nothing more than fat and flour cooked together. The fat and the flour bind together, and then that allows it to thicken up whatever water gets added to it. If you're trying to add flour to something that's just water-based, you're just going to make wallpaper paste and it ain't going to mix. For our fat, we're going to use a small amount of butter. This is the part that's easiest to mess up. You got to keep the heat low. Add some flour to the butter, start stirring. You want to slowly cook it in until you've got a nice brown color. If you burn it, throw it out, start over. Butter's melted and lightly boiling, add your flour. Keep it moving until there's no lumps, nice and consistent. Then you pretty much just got to stand here. Keep stirring it for a long time. If you burn the roux, Nanny Thibodeau is going to come up out of the ground and kill you herself. Finally getting a little bit of color change. Finally starting to get a little bit of the smell. It's a real rich, almost nutty, kind of earthy. I can't describe it, man, but it's awesome. There's no other way to replicate it. Just this way. So now we're just below what would be considered a dark brown roux. Going to cut the heat completely off, stir it for another minute or so. It's going to help cool it down. And then it's time to start prepping vegetables. 30 minutes later, it's a good time to mention that you can actually buy pre-made roux. But why would you do that when you could just as easily lose all the cartilage in your wrist and make your own? Also, if you have kids with you, have them stir the roux while you prep the vegetables. Yellow onion. Bell peppers of multiple ethnicities. You can use just green, but you eat with your eyes. So I prefer to go all Pocahontas, paint with all the colors of the wind. Or something. Celery. Now y'all remember I cut the pot off before the roux was the color I wanted it to be? Because the pot's still hot. That little bit of time put it exactly where I wanted it to be. So you take your Holy Trinity, put it in with the roux. Now I don't have access to a good andouille sausage up here, so we're going to have to use the Johnsonville version. Any good fatty sausage will do. Slice it up. Gonna drop some chicken in there. I'm a thigh man myself, but I already had the breasts. You know what they say, a breast in the hand is worth two in the... You know, never mind. So, I was gonna cut them up first, but they're frozen. It's kind of cold. Fill it up above the level of the ingredients with water. Put the heat back on. We're gonna bring it up to a boil and then cut it down to a simmer. While it's heating up, we're gonna start seasoning. Now here's the thing, I am culturally appropriating the crap out of this meal. I am not 1% Cajun. But if you're offended by that, you're wrong and I'm going to tell you why. All food is culturally appropriated. All food has been taken from somewhere and twisted and adapted and made into something different and better, and that is a wonderful dang thing. The first guy to roast a poblano pepper, turn it into an ancho chili, and then showed it to his friend. The friend wasn't culturally appropriating it by using the idea. So while we're doing the seasoning, I am going mostly traditional, but there's one or two things that I like to do on my own. Food is about bringing different people together and singing Kumbaya and crap like that. Anyway, that's my soapbox. We're going to start with Tony's. Y'all see me use Tony's a lot? There's a reason for it. It's just a good base for everything. You can also add different things that take it different directions. You want to add a little bit of chili and lime? Boom, Mexican. You want to add some soy and ginger? Boom, Asian. It's awesome. If you don't have it, all it is salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and cayenne, I believe. We're going to add a little bit more salt, a little garlic powder, sage, a few bay leaves. I don't know what they do, but there's something extra fancy about having leaves in something you can't eat. Some Tabasco. And the one thing I was actually quite surprised to find up in northern Michigan, filet powder. And my final and non-traditional ingredient. Got a few serrano peppers. Roast them. Cut them up, take the seeds out, and drop them in. You can leave the seeds in, but these things have a lot of heat. We're just trying to add a little bit of smoke and a little bit of heat. Hot for the sake of hot is not an endeavor that's worthwhile. We're going to cut the heat down, let everything get to know each other. I touched my face after cutting up the pepper and now my nose burns. Thank God I didn't have to pee. Look at you. So I kept it on a low simmer for about an hour and a half. Pulled the chicken out to cut it up, throw it back in. But now a very important part. We gotta taste it. That'll light you up. I'm really happy with the flavor, but there seems to be one thing missing. If you're cooking and it feels like something's missing, but you're not quite sure what, there's a good chance it's either fat, salt, or acid. We're good on fat and salt, so we're gonna put a splash of cider vinegar in there. Take care of it. And then finally, I cannot stress this enough, it absolutely has to happen at the very end because everybody overcooks them and I'm tired of seeing it. Add the shrimp. I would obviously rather have fresh shrimp, but these are from the Gulf. They are not foreign, they are not farm raised. If you don't have an option except for foreign or farm raised, just don't buy it. Drop them in. Cover it. Heat off. Yeah, all the way off. By the time you're done with the rice, they'll be cooked all the way through, I promise. And that is a beautiful thing, ladies and gentlemen. A couple final notes. Make it spicier than it needs to be. It's getting cut in half with rice, which has no spice to it. That's half the benefit of it. It takes the same amount of work to make this in a small pot or a big pot, so you might as well make a big pot. Then take whatever's left over, put it in the freezer bags, and then you got quick little instant meals. You just got to warm it up and make rice. Remember, the methods are mandatory, but the seasonings are subjective. Make it how you want. This particular version of it will probably knock the caisson off of basically anybody who lives up here. Michigan, I love you. I really do. I so many good, awesome people, but I swear to God, all the stereotypes about white people making bland food, I didn't understand them. Then I moved here. Not better, not worse, just different. Also, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my good friends Joe and Sarah in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I miss y'all. I love you. Y'all are some of the best people I know. They opened their home to me when I got sober. Sarah actually worked for me. Little 5'2" girl from South Louisiana working on Roux. She actually lasted longer at that job than 80% of men. That'll tell you everything you need to know about Cajun women. But I hope y'all enjoyed this and I hope you learned something. I hope maybe you try it out. As always, I love y'all. God bless.